Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are previewing Week 1 in the NFL, and right now we're wrapping things up with Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com, who's cleaning up all the games that have the toughest lines none of the other cappers wanted to touch, but Joe Duffy doesn't care because his analysis and his long-term record speaks for itself. Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com. Thanks for being back with us.
All right, thank you, Peter.
All right, I think the reason you like to do so many games is because it gives you an opportunity to show everyone the reality of how long you've been successful in this industry. Makes a lot of sense to me, so do it one more time. Give a plug for OffshoreInsiders.com and brag a little bit about how well you've done in recent years and over your career.
Yeah, that's 100% of my income is my business and on betting on these games, so I don't have to worry about working a quote-unquote real job, so I've got plenty of time to look at all these games. But yeah, this is year 27th as a full-time handicapper, the industry standard. It was about 20 years ago that I was given the nickname of the NFL specialist by a couple high roller clients we had on the score phones. Get my picks, Joe Duffy's picks at OffshoreInsiders.com.
All right, Cincinnati, Baltimore, another tough game and line to handicap. Baltimore is a 2-point home favorite. The total is 43. And, Cincinnati, we know the deal with them. They've got a lot of positives all over the field. One question mark is Andy Dalton. At times, he leads them, and they look like, a Super Bowl contender. At other times, he looks, very mediocre, and they look like, a 9-17 that may or may not make the playoffs. Here they are, Week 1 going into Baltimore. Ray Rice is going to be out. There's a lot of things about Baltimore that are, not too exciting to me. Some question marks for Baltimore, some negatives that I'm seeing. I probably won't bet this, but if I had to make a play, I think I would take a shot with Dalton being okay, or maybe even very good, and take Cincinnati +2. But it is true that Dalton has not historically done well in games at Baltimore. But what's your take on these lines, Joe?
No, that is true. I actually like the over, and it's probably one of the few games where maybe my number one reason is the two offensive coordinators, where Hugh Jackson, the new offensive coordinator for Cincinnati, his quote was, in the past, we've taken what the defense gives us. We're going to take what we want. Cincinnati is going to play a much more aggressive offense this year than they have in previous years. They do believe that Andy Dalton is the franchise quarterback, and their play calling is going to be based on that belief that he is the franchise quarterback. We know with Baltimore, Joe Flacco, he's a guy who is obviously good enough to win a Super Bowl and make it to 2 Super Bowls, but he had a disastrous year last year. But he got a new offensive coordinator, Gary Kubiak, a guy who's always had a reputation of being able to work with quarterbacks. They've got deep weapons. Steven Smith was a big name acquisition. He's not going to be the number one receiver, but he is a clutch receiver. He's going to keep plays, or he's going to keep drives going. So I really think each team's offensive coordinator is going to be more aggressive than these teams have in previous years. And they still have enough weapons where I do believe that the total is low enough and that the over is the play here.
All right. Well, Joe, great minds or mediocre minds or slightly above mediocre lines do tend to think alike, I guess, because that is exactly what my note is here. Here's my note. I guess if I had in capitals, if I had to make a pick here, slight lean over the relatively low total of 43. I'm agreeing with that lean, Joe Duffy. Over 43 it is. Thanks so much. Talk to you again next week.